I'm Russian, I live in England, and for these 3 years I couldn't understand how Londoners put up with the tube.
Then I looked deep into the issues, and after comparing it with the perfect Moscow metro, I ended up admiring and respecting the tube. And I promise you, by the end of this video, despite all the flaws, you will admire it too. I'm Stanislav, and later on this journey I'll take you to the tube's abandoned secret tunnel. Places that hide not just dust, but clues why the system still struggles today. The tube once was called 2-penny tube. Now it's more like 300-penny tube. By cost per kilometer, London's Underground is the most expensive metro in the world. In Moscow, it's about 70 pence a ride. I also noticed nobody beats the tube for creative excuses. Swan on the tracks, driver stuck in the loo, and last year an official announcement, line closed due to a dead squirrel on the track. I live in Richmond, almost 3 years on the district line, more than 50 disruptions on my memory. In Moscow, trains every 90 seconds, no delays, no cancellations, any line, anytime. I'm sure squirrels chew cables there too. Sabotage is our national sport after all, but the trains still run, always. Numbers don't lie. Is the gap really that big? In 2023, tube passengers lost 2.5 million hours in delays. That's 297 years. Moscow, less than 1 million, with double the passengers. And now the chart. Official top 5 reasons for tube disruptions. Number 5, staff and strikes. That makes sense. At least you can put those in Google Calendar. Off doing B-rolls for my next video, nothing works, everything is cancelled, no service. Well, the video will be delayed. Number 4, weather. In London, a drizzle equals apocalypse. Too many open sections, delays domino. Well, good news is that TfL says it's adapting to climate change. Number 3 is shortage of trains. The fleet is ancient. On the central line, they even set the record for engine failures. Number 2, signals and IT. And in autumn, TfL always blames not rotten hackers, but leaves. Alright, jokes aside, turns out it's real. Leaves gets crushed into paste, brakes sleep, signals lose trains, everything slows down.
So what we're doing is by clearing that greasy surface off and then laying a bit of grip down, we'll hopefully stop the train from sliding through signals.
And number 1. Not squirrels, it's power supply. Tube shares the grid with homes and offices. One hiccup, whole system down. So why does Moscow keep running while London doesn't? TfL blames aging assets and underfunding. And this is true, but the real reason way more interesting. But first, let's talk about comfort.
Next station is Comfort.
Right now I'm at Hampstead, the deepest station on the tube. In Moscow, deep stations mean cool in summer. So why is it nearly 30 degrees down here? And why is the tube the hottest in Europe?
But it's now 26 degrees. It is essentially saturated with the heat.
On the Victoria line, in rush hour, I only think about 2 things. How do I avoid a heart attack? And thank God I'm short. That tall guy suffers more. Blame the greedy companies saving on ventilation and the fact they weren't fortune tellers. Nobody guessed electricity would appear and produce heat. And the ground. London clay, great for potters, terrible for tunnels. The heat is getting absorbed by it and is trapped there. Add iron walls and you get a furnace. Moscow, limestone, sandstone and clever Soviet ventilation, with some British help, more on that later. Result, cool in summer, warm in winter. The one upside of my line, it's mostly above ground. Rain and leaves spoil a bit, but at least I get internet when the line works. Underground lines, forget it. There is some Wi-Fi at stations, but dead zones and tunnels, mostly zero. When people ask me about Moscow, I always say it's a real-life cyberpunk. Robots in the streets, flawless apps, minimum bureaucracy. These robots, they are just like stealing the delivery guy's job. Of course, like every cyberpunk world, it has its dark sides. Very dark. But that's for later. And the metro there, pure sci-fi. Imagine the Elizabeth line but everywhere. Face pay at the gates, full Wi-Fi and 4G coverage underground, driverless trains, digital traffic control, climate control. Funny thing is that London Tube hides a bit of Russian thought inside. This hall is called Moscow Hall and was inspired by Russian underground, Russian metro. Right now I'm at the one of the most peculiar stations in London, Gans Hill Station. And yes, the design was borrowed straight from the Moscow metro. How did that happen? Let me explain. After the revolution, the party and Stalin wanted the metro to be a showcase of socialism, beauty and luxury for ordinary workers. Underground palaces instead of royal ones. All churches were demolished, marble reused, mosaics and chandeliers everywhere. Like cathedrals once inspired faith, Moscow's metro inspired socialism. And honestly, I still feel it today. I was using Moscow metro for many years when I was a kid, but now when I'm shooting this, for me it's like I'm a tourist. Just paying attention to all these paintings, to all this architecture. It's amazing. It's beautiful. London, different story. The tube never tried to be beautiful. At first, it was an experiment, then just a tool. If Moscow was about palaces for the people, London was about factories for moving people. Does this mean it's ugly? No way. The beauty here is subtle. In the roundel, in the tiles, in the minimalism. I love the posters. Real works of art. Check the seat fabrics. Beautiful patterns created by star designers. Look at the ceramics on each station. Little pictograms or tiles telling local stories. The iconic typeface, first introduced in 1916, tube is still using today. In the 30s, Charles Holden gave us his modernist boxes. Simple, geometric, clean and light. Beauty as pure function. Holden visited Russia in the late 30s. Not his first trip, by the way. More on that later. He was so impressed he borrowed the style. That's why Gens Hill looks like it was shipped from Moscow. Alright, beauty is very subjective. I love Moscow's posh stations and London's minimalism as well. What I don't love is being late for work or a gig. And yeah, most of this video I've been roasting the tube. But what I found out next completely changed how I see TFL. The problem that the tube feels like it's on life support isn't today. The problem is yesterday. Well, this is where it all began. The world's first underground station, Baker Street. Today I got into an abandoned part of the Metropolitan line. Most Londoners don't even know it is here, behind the walls. It was shut because the station couldn't handle the crowds. A perfect reminder of how London's patchwork design kept creating bottlenecks. Moscow's metro is 70 years younger. Yes, it was launched by Stalin and the party. I would say built by thousands of ordinary people, but also by these two British gentlemen. Frank Pick, the brain behind London Transport, and Charles Holden, the tube architect I mentioned earlier. At the start, London specialists advised on roads, designs, even materials. They gave Moscow a huge head start and helped avoid mistakes London had already made. Later came a spy scandal. Of course it did, but oddly, Moscow's perfect metro is partly a British achievement. So what mistakes did London make and Moscow didn't? I found 5. Mistake 1. Capitalism. Before 1933, private companies built different bits of the underground, chasing profit, not passengers. No standards, no single plan, and the mass is still here. Mistake number 2. Split personality. Because of those different companies, London ended up with 2 metros in one. Subsurface trains, big, and deep tube train, tiny like on Piccadilly line. Different tunnels, different tech, different everything. Mistake 3. Split personality X2. London runs on 4 rails, not 2. 2 for wheels, 2 for electricity. Voltage isn't even the same across lines. A headache to modernize. Mistake 4. The labyrinth. Narrow platforms, twisted tunnels, endless passages. Mistake 5. Hellfire. We talked about it. It's not just uncomfortable. Electronics, motors, cables, all overheat and fails, equals delays. Meanwhile, Moscow's metro started centralized and standardized. One plan, one vision, cheap labor, thousands digging with faith, building communism. Literally digging communist tunnels. And here is the dystopian bit. In a totalitarian or authoritarian system, things move fast and cheap. Orders go top down. No freedom but no delays. You won't be late for work, but say the wrong thing and you won't be going to work at all. Now look at the recent budgets. On paper, Moscow and London spend similar billions. But in Moscow, that money builds growth. New lines, new rings, new trains. In London, most of it just patches the old system. Keeps it alive.
It's alive! It's alive! It's alive!
That's why Moscow's metro is expanding like mad. 10 years and the map looks completely different. London, next time I'm late because of a dead squirrel or a leaf, I'll remind myself this city invented the metro, made all the mistakes first, and somehow it still runs. Not thanks to luck, but thanks to one of the best transport pros in the world, keeping it alive on the tiny budgets. Kudos TFL. And now I'm off home on my district line.
There are severe delays on the rest of the line.
Wait.
The district line suspended.